Alright, we're here to talk about. Oh no, now I'm too tall. Your head. We're going to talk about transphobic assholes.
We're going to talk about representation again, and also heteronormativity. Heteronormativity. Words that I can say.
Cisheteronormativity.
Hey,
I'm your resident cis.
And as you know, I'm a hot mess.
Yeah. We defined cisgendered yet? For those who don't know.
Maybe the representation video. Do you want to do it again?
I'll define it again. So basically, cisgender means the gender, like you associate completely with the gender you were assigned at birth, essentially.
Yep.
So, like, you were born, you had a vagina, they deemed you a girl, and you're like, okay, that's me, I'm a girl. It's basically, it's the opposite of trans.
Wi-Fi, please. And define heteronormativity for the audience.
Heteronormativity is basically like, kind of like the idea that like heterosexuality and like cisgender is like the default, and you're straight and cis until proven otherwise, and if no proof is given otherwise, then you're not something else.
Right. Which is what we're going to talk about. So I got really into the Clone Wars. I used to not like Star Wars, and then she showed me how wrong I was.
He didn't like Star Wars, and then he saw Force Awakens, and now he's seen the truth.
And then I saw Clone Wars, and I fell in with the clones, and they are my children.
Because basically headcanons, which is what people in fandom do, Dimitri came with a headcanon that the clones are all non-binary, because why not?
Now, okay, here we go. I'm trying to find the post because my new post about clones is getting overtaken by this post. Okay, basically I thought of a funny thing that people who are non-binary joke about a lot, and I thought about it as applied to
it's
clones.
It's like a Tumblr like meme where it's just like, I'm non-binary. Yeah. It's just like
are you a boy or a girl? And you're on like it.
So it's sort of like be like all dragons are non-binary. It's like, are you a boy or a girl? I'm a dragon. Like, yeah, but what's between your legs? Treasure. Like it's basically like a copy pasta meme like that.
So I did it with the clones, and I've gotten some interesting responses if I can find them now, because the Tumblr keeps changing their format. But basically, it's fine. Everything's fine. Can't you see how fine? So my headcanon is that the clones are all non-binary.
Let me see.
Okay. What are you?
No, because I can give me it because I know what I'm doing.
Are you sure?
Yes.
I posted this thing about clones, like where are you, boy or girl? I'm a clone. What's in your pants? Backup blaster.
There's like plenty of them.
Okay. And a bunch of people really liked it. It's actually got like over 1,000 notes. I'm really proud of myself. But a bunch of people didn't. And one of my biggest problems with the disagreements to it is that all the evidence for the clones being cisgendered is the same as the clones being no-binary. We have the same amount of evidence, but because mine makes them not cis, I somehow need more evidence.
Yeah. Basically the issue is, you have the clones, they're clone... Okay. We should talk first, in canon, are the clones cis? Probably, because unfortunately, like...
Because heteronormativity is a thing that leaks into our fiction.
Yeah, like unfortunately, in fiction, like we said, heteronormativity, unless a character is specifically said to be trans, in fiction, they probably aren't.
And that's the fault of the writers.
Yeah.
And especially since George Lucas is not terribly inclusive, there's 3 black guys total in his universe.
The only black guys in the galaxy. We've actually joked about how Mace Windu was Lando Calrissian's father and Lando is Finn's father because they're the only black people in the galaxy.
So we know he's not terribly inclusive, so probably yes. But
they never flat out say, I am cis in canon, so that gives headcanon free range.
They never have sex. Oh, well, alright, there's one that has sex, but we never see them having sex. We never see them having, I'm going to talk about that. We never see them having sex. We don't know much about Jango Fett, because going by the movies alone, not going by any extra fiction which you may have read, because I know you really like Boba Fett, so you may know more about him than I do. But Jango Fett, going by the movies alone, has like 3 lines, and none of them are the words, I am a cishet male. So,
well, it never says that in any of the expanded fiction either.
So we don't know enough about Jango Fett to say that he was cis. And Boba Fett has plenty of speaking lines, but also none of them are I'm a cishet male. So, okay, here are some of the responses. I'm not going to say the names because...
To be honest, in some of the comics, like, in like some of the expanded material, like comics, Boba Fett comes across as like very asexual to me because like his like bounty hunter's partner is getting married and Boba Fett's just like here being a bounty hunter.
Okay, here we go. One person said they're dudes. Jango was who they were cloned from. Jango had a son, and AWOL clones settled down and had a family. They got dicks.
Which, well, creates the first thing. Yes, the pronouns they use in the show are male pronouns. And so let's assume, yes, they're using male pronouns, and yes, they're using dicks.
But
they all have dicks.
There's a couple problems with that. There's a couple problems with this. We're going to dissect this. First of all, Mandoa, is that what it's called? The language...
Mandalorian.
Mandalorian. Somebody...
Which is the language that...
the clones speak.
It's either like the language the clones speak or the language that like Jango Fett's culture is based on.
Yeah. It's a gender-neutral language. So it's an assumption that people are saying that it's brother that it's translated to and not just sibling. Which somebody else replied to my post with that, which I thought was interesting.
So that's one issue. The other issue is, even though they're using male pronouns and even if they have penises, that doesn't automatically make them
people can be non-binary and have dicks.
You can have a penis and be non-binary and like associate with like and still use like male pronouns if it's like easier, like if you're not like superopposed to them.
It's easier for me to say I'm trans male, but I'm actually what I call non-binary masculine. I associate myself with masculine things, but I consider myself non-binary.
There's also things called like demi like genders, like demi boy,
multiple
demi girl.
genders at once. Yeah.
It's not saying you're multiple.
It's not multiple. It's
like you don't like you associate with this gender, but not super. Not as strongly as someone who's like all trans or all cis, like not demisexual.
Looking up the
demisexual is something.
Damn.
Basically, so like, because I've considered a few times that I may be a demi girl. It was basically like demi doesn't matter which. Yeah, demi gender refers to someone who's either a demi boy or demi girl. A demi boy is someone who identifies partially as male, partially as something else.
Right.
Usually a non-binary or lack of gender.
And, okay, we're gonna dissect this though. Jango, that they were cloned from Jango. You don't have the same gender identity as your parents all the time.
And people brought up how they're clones, so they're identical copies. This is actually a thing we have evidence for life. Because clones exist in real life, we just don't call them clones. We call them identical twins.
Yeah.
Identical twins, when it comes to sexuality and gender expression, don't necessarily need to be identical. You can have two identical twins, one gay, one straight, and you can have identical twins, one trans, one cis. An example of this is Laverne Cox has an identical twin brother.
Got it. Also, clone just means the genetic material is identical, but we don't have evidence that points to gender being a genetic thing, especially since gender is a social construct. It's something that we've created in these barriers. So,
which comes up to another issue of the clones aren't raised by humans as humans. They're raised
as soldiers.
As soldiers by an alien race. And we don't know how Kaminoans do gender.
Right. They wouldn't, and they're all this. They all look the same. So there's no reason to suggest that they would be taught male and female as genders. Okay, the clone that settled down. A, again, non-binary people can have dicks, and B, adoption exists. Mm-hmm. those are my arguments for that.
His wife is cis.
Okay.
Not cis, trans.
Yeah, a lot of people agreed with me that just because they're cloned from women doesn't mean that their gender's the same, and we don't know that Jango Fett wasn't non-binary.
Most people are non-binary.
Oh yeah, let's do this one. Okay, so the response to people are saying, we don't know that Jango Fett was non-binary, so it's like, most people aren't non-binary, so it doesn't make sense to assume. I really hate this argument, because even if you say most people aren't, people are.
Like, example, most people aren't asexual. Asexuals make up about like 1% of the population. I exist. I'm asexual. Most people aren't asexual, but I am.
Most people aren't Jewish. Jews represent about a 0.2% of the world, and I'm Jewish. Saying that most people aren't doesn't mean that you can assume that they're not. This is actually the same argument I have every Christmas when people are like, well, I'm going to wish Merry Christmas because I assume most people are Christian. Like, okay, but some people aren't, so why don't you just keep it neutral? But that's a different argument. But yeah, basically the most people aren't isn't a good argument because some people are. And there's no reason to assume that somebody's not just because most people aren't. It's not even a great amount of people anymore. More and more people are coming out as trans because it's getting safer and safer for people to come out as trans.
And also more and more people are kind of realizing that
gender's not for me.
Gender's weird. Like, example, I'm currently identifying as cis, but I also sometimes continue that I may be demi because, like, I don't care that much about gender. Like,
is it bad that I recognize my post by my obscene amount of quotation marks?
No.
When I'm getting really, really sarcastic, I use like 80 quotation marks around a word. So when I'm quoting people who are being dumb about heteronormativity, I'm like, makes sense to assume, and I have 5 quotation marks around either side. Okay. Clones, not kids, really, they're raised as kids. It just means they share the genetic material. Hold
on, here's the thing.
They're sped up, but
I want to go over the next sentence.
This one?
They would be the same in every nature aspect as Django, except they aren't. We've seen numerous times that these clones, which are all supposed to be identical, they have distinct personalities, they have distinct likes and dislikes.
Yeah.
And if we're assuming that gender is not like 100% biological, which there's evidence that probably isn't, and it's partially biological, partially other things.
Sexuality is another conversation because there's different evidence about that. But gender specifically, there's more evidence indicating it's not genetic.
It's probably hormonal. Partially hormonal, partially like environment.
It depends with how you view gender in society and stuff like that. There's multiple factors it could be, but also
moral of the story is gender is probably
different individual people. So
like echoes and fives aren't the same.
Also, I'm gonna cry if you mention them. The clones have already been modified.
Yeah,
they're already not like Jango Fett.
They
age twice as fast. They got Order 66. I'm gonna cry again.
Evidence, like, we know that they've been aged twice as fast, and we know they have Order 66, and we don't know what other thing fails.
We know that they've been engineered to be soldiers, so they've already been changed. Jango Fett is just a base slate.
But if you want to make a statement for like a clone being identical to the parent, like the only one you can really make a statement for is Boba Fett, because he's the only unaltered clone.
Right. And he's non-binary too.
Yes, they're all non-binary.
He's a bounty hunter, so he wouldn't say clone. It would be the same as a backup blaster or jetpack controls.
Yeah.
But he's bounty hunter. Alright, here's another conversation. So I was like, so here's what I wanted to talk about. Somebody's like, this one person really pissed me off. They're like, right, then I'll just headcanon them as straight head dudes. And I'm like, yeah, but the point is that yours is still a headcanon. Our headcanons have the same amount of evidence.
This is the issue I get. Like, here's an issue I have with...
Here's the other thing I want to talk about.
Here's an issue I have with these headcanon posts and people replying to them and commenting on them and whatever. Like, Dimitri's headcanon is that they're not binary. This guy's headcanon is that they're cishet dudes, whatever. If you don't agree with a headcanon...
You don't have to look at it.
You don't need to look at it, you don't need to blog and post. Like, my personal headcanon for Rey is that she's Luke Skywalker's daughter. As such, I don't like the ship Reylo because that's incest and I kind of want the Skywalkers to stop that.
I don't like it for other reasons, but that's a whole other video.
Yeah. Well, no, there are other reasons too, but like, in theory, you could work around that, like, those reasons with like redemption arcs and stuff like that. My main issue is I can't not think of them as cousins.
Right. And I want to headcanon her as a Kenobi, so people who do that, it would be okay. I can't. But basically what we're saying is you don't have to seek out headcanons to disprove.
Like, we don't like those headcanons, so what happens if they appear on a dash? We scroll past them and just don't comment.
Here's the other thing. Their thing, I was like, it's one of my arguments was it's science fiction. So even if your argument is that most people aren't, it's a science fiction universe where you've got magic powers, force magic, magic powers, laser swords, aliens, space battles.
There's literal magic.
You've got all this stuff.
Aliens.
Why does gender have to be the one thing that's normalized? Why is that the one thing that has to match what we have here? We have endless possibilities in science fiction. Why shouldn't they be more
not even endless possibilities in science fiction. Here on Earth, one species, one planet, the gender identities shown in modern America, like the gender identities and expressions shown in modern America today, aren't going to be the same as the gender identities if I go to like an African nation, if I go to America like 300 years ago.
Now expand that into a whole galaxy.
With other species.
Cultures that are different. Like, there's no reason to keep that as the one thing that's normal.
Things with other species.
And that's what that was my argument. It's science fiction. Like, we have bounty hunters. We've got clones. Like, we don't have clones right now. Why does it have to be, they can't be non-binary? Because most people right now aren't. Science fiction. And they're like, just because it's sci-fi, it doesn't mean it's totally different. They're still humans with normal behavior, normal emotions, and all that. A couple of problems with this. A, like we just said, science fiction, why is that the one thing you have to keep that's normalized? And B, this goes back to heteronormativity. Assuming that they're cisgender and het is not normal. It's not the default. It's not
the majority.
It's not.
That doesn't mean it's not normal.
Right. It's not good to assuming that. That means that it's abnormal or strange for it to be otherwise, and that's.
Let me use another example that may show better how ridiculous this idea is.
He makes fun of my obsessive use of quotes.
People with red hair are the minority. On a whole, most humans in the world don't have red hair. It's recessive gene. It's pretty rare. It's the minority for humans. That doesn't mean it's not normal. Like, I would never see someone with red hair and say they're not a normal person. Like, no, there's a person with red hair.
They don't have a divergent or what was the word the guy in my sci-fi class used? I can't remember. It was, instead of differing, he said something else, of something like strange. They don't have a strange appearance because they have red hair. They have a different appearance because they have red hair. Natural red hair. Mine has died. Yeah, and then they make fun of my use of quotes, which I do a lot. My argument to that, this is another thing I want to talk about, is I say that I'm a writer as well, and I like to write characters who aren't straight, who aren't cisgendered, who aren't white and Christian as much as I can, because I know that those heroes, those characters already exist in abundance. We don't need more of them. I want more heroes who are not straight, who are not cis, who are not white, who are not Christian. I want more of those. So one thing I said was, we don't need more cishet dudes in science fiction. We need more non-binary dudes in science fiction. We need more everything else in science fiction. And they took offense to that, sorry.
It's funny how these arguments are coming out of the Star Wars fandom, since the Star Wars fandom lately has been really good in these new movies in terms of diversity.
Right.
Like the main heroes, we have a Latino man, a black man, and a woman. In Rogue One, we have a lot of people of color coming up, and again, a female lead. The clones in Jango Fett themselves are people of color.
Yeah. Which I realized halfway through watching the Clone Wars, I'm like, they have darker skin than Anakin does. Wasn't the guy? Yeah, we looked it up, which is great.
He's like,
that means that there's a huge.
He's Irish and like.
He's like a huge mutt, but he's not white.
His mother's like Irish German. His father's like Maori, I think it was. It's something like he's got European on one side and like Pacific Islander on the other.
Yeah, which that brings up a whole conversation about how problematic it is that the non-white race is the one being treated as slaves and products. But that's again,
to be fair though, Jango Fett signed up for it because he got paid.
All right, he did live a life of luxury for a long time. Also, I told them to fuck off with their space cisheteronormativity. So, yeah, that's the same guy. Somebody else says,
this is someone we were with.
Okay. Someone's like, Jango Fett wasn't non-binary, and somebody was like, were you there to ask them? Or that might have been me. Yeah, that was me. I'm smart. But somebody else in agreement with me said the clones grow so quickly, and they're just immediately shipped to combat. It makes perfect sense that they wouldn't even establish a gender identity, so they don't care. Plus, they probably spend as much time around aliens as humans, many of which not even have genders, let alone binary ones. They spend most of their growing time around non-human aliens.
Yes, they are raised by non-humans and robots. And then when they do go into combat, their time is then spent around other clones and the Jedi, and many of the Jedi are aliens. And also celibate, so.
And I think that's all the ones that are against it. They were all variations of those same arguments, basically.
Oh yeah, and then someone said that someone should draw a picture of the clone being pestered by someone, and you said that they should be being pestered by Obi-Wan and Anakin, and I yelled at you because,
yes. Anakin has 3 good qualities, and one of them is that he was always nice to his clones.
Yeah, we can't take away, Anakin doesn't have many good qualities, we can't take them away from him. He has so few.
There's actually a really good bunch of episodes that also broke my heart with Anakin has to leave the clones, so they call in a different general. Krell. And that's a great bunch of episodes. That really hurt my heart, but we saw the twist coming, and we still
love the clones. You like the clones a lot more than I do.
I do.
I'm not as into the clones as you do.
But that's still a good bunch of episodes.
The episodes that focus on the clones are probably the best episodes in the Clone Wars because they're not like weirdly bending the rules of Star Wars to make it like a D&D game.
The Krell episodes, even when we saw the big twist at the end coming, it still broke my heart. It was still really well animated, really well written. And we talked about this earlier, not on video. The expressions they managed to do with the limited animation are really good. Like Rex is super expressive, and I love him. He's disappointed dad, and I love him. But what happens in that episode, I got carried away. Anakin gets called away to do something else. This guy Krell comes in. Krell thinks of the clones as disposable objects of war. And for a long time, we're like, we can't tell if he's supposed to be going to the dark side or he just hates clones. And both is the answer. But he just hates clones. He just doesn't think of them as people. And it was a good contrast to Anakin, who values Rex's opinion, who treats him like a person, who, like, when Krell first came, I think Anakin got mad at him for talking to Rex a certain way.
Like, Anakin and Obi-Wan are, like, most of the Jedi are actually pretty good with the clones.
The ones that we see are really good with their clones. Anakin, Obi-Wan are really good with Rex and Cody.
Plo Koon's good.
Plo Koon is good with Wolf, who is my babe.
Kit Fisto, I think.
Kit Fisto, I don't think he has clones because they have to breathe through water.
Kit Fisto's his own thing.
Love Kit Fisto.
No, most of the Jedi we fought clones.
The Jedi that are the protagonists, the Jedi that we are supposed to like, are good to their clones. Which
Yoda's good for
really
his
nice.
clones. Good with his clones.
Right. This is going to turn into half me talking about clones episode, but one of the things that does really bother me about the one episode with we talked about this, and I think it's because I found it because Echo was supposed to come back. He was supposed to come back and they just never wrote it in, I guess, but
I think what happened was the show got canceled, so there were like a few episodes that are like unaired and like kind of inanimate.
It really, really bothers me because if Echo was going to come back, fine, but assuming that he didn't, there's this couple of episodes where Echo dies and they don't have time to mourn him. They have to go really quickly. But then this Jedi dies and they take the time to have like a mini funeral for him, and I'm like, what the hell? I got really mad. Clones are people, they're my children. Don't talk to me or my 500 children ever again.
Should we do that?
So, but it was 57 in there. In conclusion, clones are my children. I'll fight everyone, and down with space, his cis-heteronormativity.
Mm-hmm.
The end.